before I came. I'm newer here, so this was the expectation when you came back.
Good for you. And where am I?
Right there.
Oh, good. Who else is coming up? Come on up here, guys. There.
Are we ready? More ties than ever. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to have Governor Newsom here with us today as we welcome all of you to our office. Let's take a moment and thank the Governor and the California Government Operations Agency for their incredible leadership on this initiative today. I'm the Managing Director of Google Public Sector's State and Local Government and Education team. I'm thrilled to highlight our partnership with California and prepare for the next generation of workforce. Google has proudly called California home for more than 2 decades, with our global headquarters in Mountain View and 11 campuses across the state. Our commitment to California runs deep, contributing over $192 billion of financial impact across hundreds and thousands of California businesses, nonprofits, and more in 2024 alone. Google recognized early on the immense opportunity that AI presents, which is why we began investing in AI more than a decade ago. Didn't plan on the wind. We saw an opportunity to advance our mission and benefit everyone everywhere with AI. As far back as 2001, we were the first company to use machine learning for correcting spelling in search. And since then, Google Gemini has empowered the public and private sector organizations to achieve progress that just a short time ago many believed was unimaginable. The U.S. Forest Service, for example, is using Google AI to detect wildfires more quickly. Gemini is being used across Caltrans to improve traffic safety. Our long history of partnership with California and our mission to positively improve the communities is precisely why we are joining this initiative today. AI is reshaping the future of work, revolutionizing industry, transforming government services, and creating entirely new career paths. If we invest in Californians, AI can lead to new jobs, better jobs, not replacing workers, but empowering them to focus on meaningful, impactful, strategic aspects of their job. This is why Google is announcing that we are providing our world-class AI training to Californians at no cost, building clear and tangible career paths that will thrive in the state's innovative future. This will give learners a direct path to careers in high-growth fields. This includes Google's Prompting Essentials, a course taught by Google experts that is product agnostic. No prior experience is needed for learners to take course to learn how to effectively and responsibly use AI. We're also providing generative AI courses to California's middle school and high school teachers. This will empower them to personalize instruction, create more dynamic lessons, free up their time to focus on what matters most, the student. In addition, yesterday we announced a $1 billion initiative funding AI education and AI literacy programs for research, cloud computing, and resources to support students and educators across the nation. Google is honored to go even further with California by contributing to this initiative. We thank Governor Newsom for his visionary leadership and for inviting us to be a part of this collaborative effort. Now I'd like to welcome the California Community College Chancellor, Sonia Christian. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, California, and hello from the Chancellor of the California Community Colleges, serving over 2.1 million students. Super excited to be here for a conversation that is absolutely important. We have California to be vibrant. We need to have a society and communities that are AI literate and AI fluent. And the mechanism to do it is through the community colleges because of the reach into California and communities that are hard to get to. The way we're doing it is through partnerships. Partnerships with the governor's office, partnerships with the Secretary Go Biz of Workforce Agency, Secretary Stuart Knox, Secretary Amy Tong, and that's how we're doing it from a state agency standpoint. Also partnerships with our industry partners. So excited to be in Google San Francisco because we have partnered with Google over the last several years to recognize the Google certificates with college credit. You know, the governor of California said, we've got to recognize learning wherever it happens. We shouldn't say, well, learning is happening in the industry sector or in academia. That's ridiculous. Learning is learning, and the California community colleges are rising to meet the moment. So with the Google certificates, we are giving them college credit. Another partnership with Google is with the AI Accelerator program. And right now we're engaging to bring to our students Gemini, Notebook LLM, so that they have access. And you're talking about communities that don't have our first generation communities, and we're powering them with tools and with human care. Let's talk about Adobe. Adobe is very focused on content authenticity initiative. Guess what? The California community colleges are right there partnering with Adobe to make sure that we are clear about misinformation and disinformation, because we are focused on having the tools and capability of looking at content authenticity. When you look at the work we're doing with Microsoft, we have Microsoft boot camps all across California in the different regions. We are broken up into regional economies. And in this particular work, we're bringing in Microsoft Copilot. We're bringing in cybersecurity, workforce training, and very practical skills to our faculty hands-on to keep up with the changes happening in industry. And last but not least is our partnership with IBM. You know, you see the tools that are out there are super powerful. With machine learning embedded in a history course, I mean, how do you start teaching when a student has access not just to source documents that they have to go to the library, but now they have access in just the click of a mouse to 18th century source materials? So our faculty need to have, be engaged with these tools to offer the curriculum and the pedagogy that is suitable for the 21st century. Where California goes, so does our nation. And we have an ambitious governor. What I really love about Governor Newsom is that he holds what appears to be two mutually exclusive worlds together. He really sets the stage for innovation from our industry, but he also sets the stage for public trust in our systems, and therefore holding public trust, taking care of our communities, and taking care of working Californians. We are bringing the worlds together just as only California can do. So I'm super happy right now to be here and introduce my colleague, who's the Chancellor of the California State University system, an incredible individual, and it's great to be partnering with Dr. Mildred Garcia.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. On behalf of the entire California State University, I'm so thrilled to be here at this momentous event. We're memorializing the CSU's partnership with Governor Newsom and industry leaders to harness the power of AI for our students, faculty, staff, the state, and quite frankly, the nation. Our deepest gratitude to Governor Newsom for his forward-thinking leadership, for being bold, for stepping out there, and to the talented members of his team, including Advisor Amy Tong, Secretary Knox, and Secretary Nick Maduros. And of course, we owe our continued appreciation to our community college partners, our industry leaders, so critical to our collective success, and who are leading the extraordinarily consequential and impactful technological innovation for the entire state of California. Thank you all for recognizing the CSU's uniqueness an unmatched potential to educate new generation of leaders in every corner of our state. And the CSU, with over 460,000 students, are the first generation, the low income, the students of color, the adults who are seeking to lift themselves, their families, and their communities. As we celebrate the signing of this MOU and the formal creation of the CSU Industry AI Workforce Acceleration Board, I am pleased to share that the partners in this effort have already been very hard at work. In fact, this partnership is at the very heart of the CSU's broader AI initiative. We're aiming the CSU to be a global leader for four-year universities for an empowered AI higher education system. Just give me a couple of minutes to give you a couple of examples. Microsoft is now working with the CSU's Career Center and their directors across the state to design a thriving career advising service for every single one of our students, strengthening the bridge from college to career for students from all walks of life. This summer, Amazon Web Services partnered with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to deliver a week-long AI summer camp where our students, our CSU students, actually tackled real-world challenges using AI skills. And through a grant from Google and the National Association of System Heads, our students and alumni now have access to a suite of micro-credential programs to advance their skills as they enter their careers. And a new system-wide portal is now in the works to connect students across the state with our industry partners for a wealth of hands-on internship opportunities. Our current progress is undeniable, and with the continued partnership of the Governor's administration and all of these amazing industry leaders who comprise the Acceleration Board, our potential for the future is truly boundless. So you can tell I'm beyond excited for all these partnerships and what they will achieve for our students, their families, and their communities, and for the beautiful Golden State that many of us live in. And now it's my pleasure to turn the program over to one of our valued industry partners, Microsoft, Beth Dan, General Manager, West USA Education. Beth?
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here today. I want to take a moment to thank Google for hosting us in such a beautiful location. And I want to take a moment to sincerely thank Governor Newsom, the California Government Operations Agency. At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I love when missions come together. We are partnering with the CSU and also the California community colleges on workforce development, which we know is so important in the state of California. As a part of this skilling initiative, we are empowering educators and students with equity and access to AI solutions. Together, as you heard today, we launched a statewide boot camp series across 8 regional areas to make sure that everybody has access. These are foundational AI courses. They're courses on cybersecurity, which we know is critical in all that we do, as well as our Copilot products. I am so thrilled at the opportunities and the outcomes of impact we have to help those across this beautiful state of California. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Dinesh with IBM.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Governor Newsom. Thank you, Amy Tong. And thank you for all the colleges from California. For me, today is not just about an MOU signing ceremony. It's a little more personal because I am a product of a community college. And the fact that we are opening this up, being able to give the skills, being able to give the tools to the community college students is really near, dear close to my heart. So I'm really excited about it, the fact that we can now open it up to all community colleges in California, and I'm really excited to see that happen. So how do we create the next workforce? The next workforce of the world is not going to be any workforce. It's going to be an AI-empowered workforce. How do we give them the skills? How do we give them the right set of tools? But to do that, not just about the students, it's also about the teachers, it's about the educators, it's about the trainers. How do we make sure those trainers, those educators, those professors have the right tools and right skills to go do that? So how do we train the students? How do we help the teachers and educators? And finally, how do we make sure the accessibility and the opportunities are available for everyone? That's what excites me most, is the accessibility and the opportunities is opened up. Finally, from an IBM perspective, we have said we are going to touch 30 million AI developers, AI students by 2030. This is a further commitment for us in that journey, along with the state of California, to make that come true. Thank you. With that, let me introduce Alan.
I'll tell him. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Alan Baranowitz, Head of Business Strategy and Operations for Education at Adobe. And we're proud to partner with the state of California and to the governor to expand AI education, workforce development, and AI literacy across the state. For over 40 years, Adobe has pioneered innovative technologies that have enabled billions of people to unleash their creativity, power their productivity, and bring their stories to life. We've been focused on empowering the next generation to stay ahead with must-have digital and creative skills that will increasingly shape the future. As we look forward, we're guided by the belief that the best way to predict the future is to give everyone the power to create it. With our agreement today, we are deepening Adobe's commitment to education by ensuring that both students and educators in California are prepared to use classroom-ready AI tools like Adobe Express and Adobe Firefly throughout their learning journey. Firefly is Adobe's family of commercially safe generative AI models, which have been built responsibly from day one. With AI technologies evolving rapidly, educators are wrestling with how to best equip students to be the next generation of leaders and innovators. And at Adobe, we believe the future of innovation starts with access. Access to tools, to skills, and to opportunity. With transparency and safety as a foundation to Adobe's approach to AI, students and teachers everywhere can create with confidence. We're not just providing tools, we're providing trust. Bringing AI to the classroom can boost engagement, enhance creativity, and drive academic outcomes. A recent study revealed that 91% of educators observed enhanced learning when their students used creative AI. That's why through our agreement, Adobe is providing AI tools and AI curricula to schools across California, from high schools to higher education institutions. We also know that equipping educators at all levels is just as important as equipping students. That's why we're investing in professional development, certifications, and AI literacy content to help educators lead the way in responsible AI use. Educators are the bridge to opportunity, and when they're empowered, the entire classroom benefits. As I said before, the best way to predict the future is to give everyone the power to create it. And with this partnership, we will help students, educators, and the community at large to harness the power of AI to build a better future together. Thank you. It's my honor to welcome the governor to the stage. Thanks.
Thanks, Alan. Thank you all. And I particularly want to thank Google. I think the last time I was here was the first time I was here on this deck. It was back when the cloud was still in the sky and Twitter was a sound and apps were things you filled out to get into college. It was my early days as mayor where we finally convinced Google to move to Northern California, at least as we defined it then, and open their first satellite office in San Francisco, which was a big deal. Little did I know we'd be where we are today. I remember at that press conference announcing Google, folks were talking about how things are going local, becoming more social. They talked about the crowd. and someone said, we're moving from search to suggest. And I think about that notion of search to suggest. Little did I know about this thing called artificial intelligence. Over the course of the last few decades, we've seen this evolution, and now we're seeing this rapid acceleration. And so we're here in that spirit of acceleration, of evolution, of innovation, the entrepreneurial spirit that defines the best of the San Francisco Bay Area. What a more appropriate place to be than right here with the Bay Bridge behind us. In this spirit that the Chancellor's advanced, building a bridge so that everyone can see themselves on this journey that we're taking together in real time. Our journey as it relates to the Memorandum of Understanding, of which we are signing 4 today, and then another formal one, a 5th with the CSU system, began quite literally a year ago today down in Silicon Valley, where we had the opportunity to be with Jensen at NVIDIA. And we established the first MOU between the state of California and NVIDIA, specifically focused on the community college system, focused on workforce development, focused on many of the themes and tenets that define these 5 MOUs we're advancing here today. We brought with it not just pen and paper, but resources, about $1 million that went into the community college system through our Labor and Workforce Development Agency to partner with the community college system. We invited the CSUs and the UCs, and we invited other tech leaders in this space. Over the course of the last 12 months or so, it's led to a lot of innovation, including radically changing our procurement as it relates to generative AI. In fact, I would argue with some clarity and appreciation of what our competitors are doing, no other state is doing more on Gen AI than the state of California. Working with our GovOps office, working with Amy Tong and others, we have advanced new partnerships, moving beyond the old paradigm of RFPs, RFQs, RFIs to a sandbox iterative framework through this RF2 model to actually showcase in real time how generative AI can solve real problems, vexing problems, like public safety on our freeways and roadways, as it relates to congestion, as it relates to issues around call volume and customer service. Those Gen AI partnerships are now taking shape and taking place at a scale that we can lay claim is the most significant in this country. But that said, this is moving quickly, and none of us are naive about the iterative nature of the partnerships and iterative nature of the technological change. And so that's what we are fundamentally trying to address here today by strengthening the partnerships with all of these remarkable, iconic companies, IBM, Adobe, partnerships, yes, with Google, but the opportunities as well to showcase and highlight the innovation that's taking shape at Microsoft as well. We thought we'd bring them all together, which is nice, as opposed to rolling these out over the course of a number of months. But I thought important, and I'm very grateful to both chancellors for being here, to bring the voice of our higher education system, the backbone of our higher education system. The community college system in this state, the CSU in this state, there's simply no systems like it anywhere in the United States of America. This is the backbone of our workforce and economic development in California, the tentpole of the U.S. economy. So today is an important day. It's a milestone, but it's also a recognition that the world, in many ways, we invented is now competing against us, and we've got to step up our game. And that's the spirit that I think defines the best of California, the spirit that defines the best of innovation. It's not surprising, and I'll just remind you, because it's important for those that don't know and for those that have forgotten. It's the center of the universe when it comes to artificial intelligence. There's simply no other jurisdiction, no other region, no other state in the world that can lay claim to the kind of entrepreneurial innovative spirit, the kind of investments that are being made here, the human capital that is taking place here. 32 of the top 50 market cap companies. By the way, that's an old number. I can't wait for someone to come up with an updated number in that space, or right here, increasingly right here, literally in San Francisco, part of the renaissance of the city and county itself, and part of the dominance that is California. And I say dominance, you may have seen, we were commenting, we had a little roundtable a moment ago, you may have seen the dominance of CapEx in the AI space in the first two quarters. Remarkably, and you all are well versed. If you're not, you should use Gemini Pro and look it up. But 70% of this economy's GDP is consumer spending. Interestingly, in the first two quarters of this year, the new estimated numbers have just come in that there was more CapEx investment in AI that contributed to GDP growth than consumer spending. That puts into perspective what's happening in this space in real time. It's not just the investments that are being made, but it's the impacts that are already being felt. This is not in front of us any longer. It's all around us today. You have to be sober about this moment. We can be prone to hyperbole. There's a lot of studies that talk about optimism in this space, a lot of studies that show a lot of pessimism. But there's some sober realities. If you're a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, and you've recently graduated with particular skills, maybe you have coding skills, you're already seeing in companies, respectfully, and it's not a knock, like Microsoft, like Alphabet, you're seeing in certain coding spaces significant decline in new hires for obvious reasons, AI. You're seeing that in Salesforce. You saw they put out an analysis, just Salesforce Tower right in front of me, behind you. Roughly 50% reduction in certain key coding classes already of new hires because of the impacts of generative AI. But we're not talking just about generative AI now. We're talking about AGI, we're talking about ASI and super intelligent. And so this is a moment for leadership. It's a moment for us to grapple with truth and trust. I appreciate Adobe in particular. Don't think I was going to forget you in that space, and so much of the work we've done, the 18 bills I've signed in the AI space. Adobe was principal in advancing some of those efforts around watermarking, around images and deep fakes. It's important that we continue to build capacity and build partnerships, not do things to one another, but with one another. And that's why I look forward as well this year. There are a number of other AI bills that are being debated in the California legislature. I'm grateful that many of the bills are picking up on themes that came out of a working group we established a number of months ago, particularly the working group led by Fei Li, who's the godmother of AI, partnerships with Stanford University, the UC system, MIT, and others, Carnegie, that helped advise us to have a sober, non-political look at where California can assert its leadership. And final point on this. I'm not naive, the whipsaw. We were talking as well earlier about the firm partnerships the state of California had going back years now. I was privileged to be one of the first governors in the United States to sign an executive order in this space in partnership with the federal administration, working hand in glove with the White House to advance that. So much so that when the White House, President Biden came out with his executive order, he did it here in San Francisco at the Fairmont building, a stone's throw away, and it backed into the work we were doing at a subnational level, at the state level. Well, as you know, a lot of that work was thrown out in January, and it's been replaced with a different mindset, a different approach to artificial intelligence. There was an effort to negate or eliminate the ability for states under principles of federalism and the 10th Amendment to assert their rights to regulate. Wiser heads prevailed. That said, we're not naive about over-regulating, and it's finding that right balance. But in the absence of the kind of federal leadership that I think is required at this moment, California does play an outsized role, and we do feel an outsized responsibility to work with our partners to address the anxiety people have around truth and trust and to find the right balance in that space. So I say that mindful of the work we still have to do. These MOUs are part of that work, but that is just a component part of a lot of work that will continue to be done. Final point, and forgive me for extending this. I'd be remiss because the Chancellor reminded me a moment ago of the work we did in her own comments. Sonia referencing the work we've done on our career education master plan. We'll put that up against any in the country. I'm very proud of that work. That was a process that unfolded over the course of multiple years around career education. This notion of credit for prior learning. And the partnerships with Google, one of the principal components is Google's providing for free these certification programs. 1.2 million people have already benefited from those certifications. Those same individuals can get credit for prior learning to get advanced degrees, working with our community college, working with our CSUs, and ultimately working with the UC system. This is a different layer of partnership that we've seen in the past, and it's part, I think, of an exciting approach that we're taking, recognizing the nature of work is radically changing, recognizing the nature of degrees are radically changing, and credentialing is becoming more and more important. Practical, real-world experience becoming more and more important. You don't need a fancy degree necessarily to do extraordinary things. And as we all know, final words, it's not how much you know. We love to say this here at Google. Google knows more. It's what you're going to do with what you know that matters most. So the spirit of creative thinking, Socratic method, the spirit that defines these MOUs, I think is also the spirit of discovery and innovation that defines the best of the Bay, our state, and still our nation. With that, we're happy to answer any questions. After we sign the 5 MOUs. We have a few things to exchange, so we'll... Yeah, I think we're just signing and holding up. Are we just signing once? Okay. Good use of time. Shall we? And we'll all sign separately. We'll do a... You all want to do a quick photo with our pens down? We'll all smile. Right here, sir? Let's do it. Ready? Don't know the date. I don't know the date either. We'll do that later. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. for taking the time to come out. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Governor. These local companies are giving California this. What will California give back?
Well, I mean, look, I think in the spirit that defines the best of leadership, it's climate control, not command and control. And I make that point to sort of make an observation. I saw the President of the United States today call for the firing of a Silicon Valley-based CEO. I have a president very mindful of the President of the United States who doesn't believe in free enterprise. He believes in crony capitalism. So what we're giving back to the companies that define the best of California is free enterprise, the spirit that defines the best of free enterprise. We believe that spirit means we don't pick winners and losers. It means we create an ecosystem where people are treated fairly and equitably that creates not equal outcomes, but opportunity. That's why I think ecosystems matter, not just incumbency. Incumbency is important, but I believe in entrepreneurial capitalism, not just incumbent capitalism. Rules for risk-taking, not recklessness. We believe rules for risk-taking have helped advance now this fourth largest economy. I just think about the regulatory framework that helped create the space, that helped create Elon Musk's wealth as it relates to regulating tailpipe emissions. And now it's led to profound and outsized innovation as it relates to low carbon, green growth, particularly electric vehicles, but also in many different categories. So I think that's the spirit of contribution in the spirit of your question.
Governor, at the end you mentioned the safeguards and the task force that just released the report today what should look like.
Which task force? I'm sorry.
The task force on AI and the safeguards.
Yeah.
That you directed out from signing it for the regional rescue 47. I know it doesn't endorse any legislation, it doesn't reject any legislation, but when would we see California step up its safeguards? And is that at the end of this legislation?
Well, we've led in AI innovation and we've led in AI regulation, but we're trying to find a balance. I think there was a lot of obsession with one particular bill as if that was the only thing that was going on in the AI space. Quite the contrary, 18 specific bills to prove otherwise. As it relates to frontier models, as it relates to a successor legislation, if I dare use that word, that is being considered. That's a process that will go through well-established amendments and engagement with not just our office, but stakeholders across the country, not just across the state. And that piece of legislation has already evolved. But I appreciated the spirit of it. It was introduced broadly in the spirit that defined the best of that white paper.
Do you think doing something like that, though, is something that you might be able to accomplish before you leave office?
Well, the purpose of, look, we've been leaders in this space. We did the first executive order in this space. We've led with these MOUs. We'll continue to lead in these MOUs. We continue to lead in the deep fake space and many other categories as it relates to AI, other states following suit, the country in many ways. So we'll maintain that leadership. That's the spirit. As it relates to any particular legislation, that process will unfold over the next 6 weeks. But I think the spirit of leadership I'm very mindful of and feel a deep sense of responsibility, but it has to be the right legislation. And 1047 in my mind was not, went too far. And I think there's growing consensus, even advocates of that that I've talked to said, I'm actually glad you didn't sign that. So it requires some, it's not just crowds. It's not just, a little bit of temperance, I guess is the word. That said, can't be naive about some of the risks.
Governor, you said that in January you kind of threw out a lot of the AI policy, but in April he had an executive order that was calling for exactly these kinds of public-private partnerships on AI.
Yeah.
Is this an area where the two of you might agree?
Well, there are 90 specific principles he supported, many of them on open source as well, which I broadly and long supported. So, no, there's a lot of area agreement. I think there's just there's some anxiety, respectfully, of a little laissez-faire. And my anxieties, I just think it's well-founded. It's not just mine. This notion of crony capitalism, I don't like it. It's corruption. People that can afford to make a phone call, afford to get an exemption on a tariff, afford to get something no one else can get, afford to even get in the door. I've never seen open corruption like this in my life. I've never seen, thing I took for granted, healthy horse pulling a sturdy wagon, I think is how Churchill described free enterprise. I don't feel it's so healthy right now under the Trump administration. I think it's very reminiscent of things that I read about in the history books going on in other countries. And I'm very concerned about a healthy ecosystem. And I'm very concerned about the status of free enterprise in this country. And so on AI, I would extend that, crypto, many of these spaces. The crypto space is a perfect example. I mean, you've never seen more open-ended corruption in that space with the President of the United States in American history. Just blatant. There's a guy who was vehemently against crypto, and now he's fawning over. We've been steady on that for years and years. Did an executive order in that space many, many years ago. He dismissed it outright until he realizes he can make a buck. So this is serious stuff. It can't be normalized and it can't be overstated. And so I just, again, feel like we have a role to play in all this, a balancing role, and we got to push back against this crony capitalism.
So is that about AI? What do you think about President Trump's policy on Alcatraz?
On which? It's come on, it's laughable, and we just spent too much time on it right there.
Governor, quick question on redistricting. The Secretary of State's office said that realistically, in order to get this on a special election ballot, it needs to happen by August 22nd, the legislative process. Do you think that's a feasible timetable? And also,
Yes.
Your quick reaction to the FBI trying to go after some of these Texas Democrats?
Well, the FBI going after Texas Democrats deserves as much attention as the Alcatraz question. Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, Coca-Cola is now using real sugar.
But the timeline.
What was that?
The timeline.
The timeline?
Getting the maps.
Oh, on the substance of maps, yes. No, that's exactly what we knew, and I'm glad that was more publicly shared. August 22nd, we're moving.
You think 5 days is plenty?
Well, I feel like this. Well, it's not just 5 days. It's a process that's been very publicly discussed. It's a process that continue to be more fully discussed. I think we have another event tomorrow we'll share with you. We'll discuss it even more fully in that respect. A lot of folks are part of that process, and that process will unfold, and then it will be in the formal process, what you're referring to, and that legislative frame over a 5-day period. And I have all the confidence in the world in their ability to deliver on behalf of the rule of law, on behalf of democracy, on the behalf of things that we can no longer take for granted, and things I think the vast majority of Americans still hold dear.
Everyone asking about the $500 million of research grants the president's taken from UCLA.
Yeah.
Should UC strike a deal to get that money back? And what are your involvement?
I want to be careful here, but with all due respect, and I don't mean to diminish, but we're not Brown, we're not Columbia, and I'm not going to be governor if we act like that. Period, full stop. I will fight like hell to make sure that doesn't happen. There's principles, there's right and wrong, and we'll do the right thing. And what President Trump is doing is wrong, and everybody knows it. His biggest supporters know it. And you are not just, this is the finest system of higher education anywhere in the world. It's the reason we're having this conversation. It's the reason we dominate in every critical area. It's the reason we have more scientists, engineers, more Nobel laureates, more patents than any other jurisdiction on planet Earth. It is because of the system of higher education. It's that conveyor belt for talent defines the best of this country. The reason our national defense and national security is as strong as it is the partnerships and the funding that comes through those grants. So this is about our competitiveness. It's about the fate and future of this country. It's about our sovereignty. It's about so much more than the temperament of an aggrieved individual who happens to currently be President of the United States.
Do you involve those conversations at all about possibly negotiating with
they'll do the right thing. I have the confidence, and I'll do everything in my power to encourage them to do the right thing and not to become another law firm that bends on their knees, another company that sells their soul, or another institution that takes a shortcut and takes the easy wrong versus the hard right.
Governor, a question on education and AI. Aren't you worried about the impact AI is having right now on education, higher education, where people are using it instead of learning?
I think what this MOU seeks to do is to express a recognition of those concerns, and also it frames the opportunities to address that. Part of the MOU specifically lays out best practices in teaching, in inquiry. It's not about the answer, it's about the process to getting to the answer. And it's about the discovery in that process. And so that's what the teacher training components of the MOU are about. And this is the great opportunity to have teaching assistants, as we talked about a moment ago, and to have individualized learning. This is what we've been dreaming of. This is what we've been talking about, having private tutors. I desperately could have used, my critics would acknowledge this, even my critics would acknowledge this, a personalized tutor to address gaps that I had as it relates to my own learning differences as I grew up. This is the opportunity for everybody and to be fully expressive. So I see a process of transition there to fully understanding what these tools can mean. I think we're, it's like our brains. We're only using a small percentage. I think with AI, I find myself literally on a weekly basis just go, I didn't know it did this. Where have I been? How long have this has been a year? I didn't know that you didn't tell me about this. We think we know so much, but we don't yet. And I think that's what these MOUs are about, is really sort of mining a deeper understanding of how these can really amplify and allow human beings to flourish.
The federal court struck down 2 of the marquee deepfake laws you signed last year regarding elections. I'm curious if you want to see those appealed, and also how you see that kind of legislation going forward this session.
Well, I'm worried about all that. I'm worried about election integrity, not just because of what Donald Trump's trying to do to, find more representatives by doing these redistricting schemes. But I'm worried. There's someone by the name of Gavin that speaks fluent Spanish, who has no wrinkles. And is quite impressive. That's on my feed. Of course, he doesn't exist. He's an AI bot of me. You'd have a hell of a hard time knowing that unless you took a second look. That's today. Imagine in a few months. Imagine the ability to shapeshift perception in real time to weaponize that. And so I'm very concerned about those bills being thrown out. I'm mindful that we have to increase the number of tries, meaning let's get it right based on sort of a constitutional, based on constitutional concerns or constraints. And I'm deeply mindful of our relationship to that truth and trust as it relates to being a regulatory body in California. As it relates to litigation, that's a different process which we engage with our legal counsel. I'll have a chance to look. As you know, we've not only filed 37 new lawsuits against Trump administration just since January, so many of these cases that have been filed against us, every week we have a chance to review them. So I'd have to look at the specifics of the adjudication of that. Well, it's hard to calculate right now. I mean, the MOU itself, it's not an immediate savings. It's the promise and promotion of different types of investments that don't necessarily have a huge cost driver. As it relates now to the Gen AI partnerships, it's not just about efficiency and savings. It's about doing things we couldn't do before. It's quite literally changing the paradigm of a work stream. It's about connecting dots that we didn't even know existed and could be connected. And that's what's so exciting about this. It's about real breakthrough. And that's why we started this breakthrough group as well. It's part and parcel of this larger innovation ecosystem that we're creating in partnership with the state. We've got some of the best and brightest minds from the Valley in the spirit not of Doge, quite the contrary, but in the spirit of Rego and what was done in the past under different administrations, particularly the work that Al Gore did, to work with our state workforce, engage them to find new work streams, new work styles, arrangements, to find not just efficiencies, but to break out the paradigm of expectations, to meet people where they are, give taxpayers more choice, more voice, not just find savings and efficiencies, but radically change the customer experience. What's that? Well, we've put out, as you know, and you've been kind enough to even join us in the Silicon Valley, Central Valley here. We've put out numerics in the past, multi-billion-dollar slides we've shown you in terms of those savings. As it relates to the specific Gen AI contracts, too early to assess those, specific to those. But the broader reinvent government stuff, billions and billions of dollars of savings.
Last question.
Governor, on your district, if you envision being on the ballot of those voters, will they see a map? Will they be asked a question? What do you
We want to do it in the most transparent way. That's a process that will unfold over the course of the next few weeks, but we want to see the maps on the ballot. I want folks to know what they're voting on. That's what separates what we're doing from what others are doing. So we want to give those maps. We want to make sure those maps are on the ballot. We want to encourage national redistricting, which is critical. I've long supported national redistricting. I appreciate Common Cause and their work in this space. It should be done in Ohio. It should be done in Florida. It should be done elsewhere. I appreciate Governor Schwarzenegger's leadership in this space. I was proud to support those efforts in the past as a mayor at the time, lieutenant governor, working against the repeal of some of those independent redistricting efforts. That's why we want to continue to keep the Independent Redistricting Commission, but recognizing that we cannot unilaterally disarm at this existential moment in terms of these congressional maps in 26, 28, and 30. But to maintain its status beyond 30 into 3032, and to codify our intent to continue to promote a national independent redistricting model. The idea that the President of the United States says he's entitled to 5 seats should sicken everybody. There's nothing normal about that, and anyone who says it's not surprising is normalizing it. That's shocking. He's entitled to it?
be concerned about the low poll numbers with 52% support so far?
I'm confident we'll get it when people know what it is and what it's not. I think and at the end of the day, they understand what's at stake. I mean, we can just sit on the sidelines. We can watch him roll back. I mean, they're not stopping with 5 in Texas. They're in Indiana. They're going to all these other states. We can sit there and we can be, stewards of, intellectual good government and just watch it all go away. If he's entitled to these votes, what's he going to be entitled to in 2 years? He's apparently entitled to the National Guard, federalizing the National Guard to do what? Doesn't like the fact there's an election because, look at these tariffs. They're done under the completely illegal auspices of an Economic Emergency Powers Act based on, a former leader in Brazil's incarceration. So that's under the Economic Emergency Powers Act. That Bolsonaro's incarceration, house arrest, should lead to a 50% tariff. And this is I appreciate you asking about Alcatraz, and I'm glad you're following on all these other remarkable things that are happening in this country. I actually have to be more cautious about what I say because sometimes you pick it up. Why are you wearing a Pittsburgh hat? What's going on with you, Joe? Okay, no, we love Najee Harris. He's a Bay Area kid, the running back. Najee's the best. Well, no, well, you didn't necessarily have the line, okay? Joe, we're going to get into this, really? You watch this year. It's a much better team, despite that quarterback. Anyone else?
So is this the president says his aspiration of not having undocumented?
That's up there with Coke Zero or whatever the new Coke is. I mean, that's not even worthy of your time.